That was nice and loud. Everybody's awake? Good afternoon.
That's me every time.
We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We welcome you to the Lafayette Public Utility Authority meeting. We, as your representatives of Lafayette Consolidated Government, welcome your involvement and encourage your participation. The meeting is a public hearing. If you wish to address the LPUA on any item on this agenda, please fill out the request form in the foyer. The request to address the council blue card can be filled out and submitted prior to the call of the agenda item, or you will not be given the opportunity to speak. If assistance is needed with submitting the request, staff is available to help. If the event a speaker has completed their comments prior to the expiration of their allotted 5 minutes, any remaining time shall be forfeited. If you have materials you wish to submit to the LPUA, please give those to the Council Clerk Veronica Williams, seated to my left in the middle. In an effort to show everyone the opportunity to be heard, the 5-minute rule will be in effect. Speakers shall refrain from debating, personal attacks, and from making confrontational or derogatory comments. I'm requesting that the first row to my left be used for media only. Lastly, food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and all phones and electronic devices shall be silenced from this point forward. I'm also requesting that anyone who approaches the council state their name and title for the official record. Meeting procedures are by resolution and not by Robert's Rules of Order. Documents including agenda, ordinances, resolutions, and minutes related to this meeting are posted online at LafayetteLA.gov or refer to the web address at the top of the agenda. The LPUA encourages your your involvement and participation by volunteering for boards and commissions. If you're interested in finding out which board suits your interests, give us a call at 291-8808 or pick up a pamphlet at the door. Chair announcements. I will announce that item number 9, ordinance 0-020-2018 LPUA has been withdrawn prior to the intro of Development and Planning's request, given the abandonment does not include any utilities. Councilman Bruce Conk is unavailable to attend tonight's meeting. I do not have any announcements. Do I have any LPUA announcements? I'm seeing none. The mayor's report. Mayor Joel Robideau, do you have anything for us? Oh, sorry, I wasn't ready for you. I just wasn't ready. Now I'm ready.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. We do have Thomasina here to go over some bids as part of the Mayor President's report.
Come on down.
Hi, I'm Thomasina Oliver, Purchasing and Property Manager. These are all LUS inventory stock items, and I need council approval for purchasing to award these to the lowest evaluated bidders.
All right, can I get a motion? I got a motion by Boudreaux, second by Lewis, loud and proud. All right. Any discussion? No? Today's not our day, people. And then we don't have any blue cards. Now I'm going to call for a vote to accept the bids. Oh, I wasn't ready for you either. Now I'm ready.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
The motion is approved.
Cindy, if you'll please read the first resolution.
Resolution 18-2018 to LPUA, a resolution of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority establishing that it will not consider any possible sale, lease, third-party management agreement, partnership, or disposition in whole or in substantial part of the City of Lafayette utility system without the use of a transparent request for proposals process.
All right, can I get a motion and a second? Motion by Boudreaux, and I have a second by Cook, and I see Mr. Boudreaux has the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just want to go over this resolution and why I brought this forward, and kind of go over some historical issues that I think are significant, and why I think we should do this, and why I'm asking for support from the LPUA on sending in what I call an instruction to the administration, and particularly to the Mayor President. I am without a doubt convinced that there has been a lot of confusion and misunderstanding as it relates to this process. So I just would like to go back for a second. Before I do so, though, I do want to be clear, and this is directed to Mr. Robideau as the Mayor President. There may be some things said, Joel, I do not want you to perceive those as an attack in any manner, not even criticism. It's just, I think it's important that we acknowledge where anything could have been done differently and or possibly even better. I have never been one who tried to do personal attacks, and I'm not going to start now, but this has grown to such a point, and then it gets hijacked, in my opinion, for personal benefit, and then it just comes all undone. So I'm going to say some things. I don't think they're over the top bad, but it's I'm your friend now, and I want to be your friend after, okay? So I'm convinced that the entire issue of LUS suffered its greatest blow when it was discovered that meetings took place that had not been announced to the public. Although that is not the law to announce them to the public, and it's not even a mandate, but I think it's what the people have come to expect of elected officials. We call that, not just shared with someone, total or true transparency. In addition to that, in addition to when it became evident that meetings had taken place with multiple entities, in addition to that, there were other things that happened that, in my opinion, had people questioning. They didn't ask the who, the when, and the how, but they certainly wanted to know the what and the why. A couple of them is this. The $240 million proposal that was denied by this body as well as by the council. It was brought forward that money was needed to do upgrades for generation, sewer upgrades, just the entire LUS system itself. A rate increase had already been passed to cover some of that cost, but yet it was denied and reduced to, I think, $70 million, if my memory serves me correctly. That's significant for me. The retirement of the director, Terry Huval, the timing of that played a significant part in what we're dealing with at this time. The $1.7 million no connect lift station to fiber and the investigation of the Public Service Commission. That was significant in this process. And of course, another issue was the budget split to create 2 directors' positions. All of those things, and there are others, I feel has brought us to the point that we are now. But I think these 4 were very critical and created the most concerns. I'm going to touch on a couple of them. The $240 million, and this is more so for us as the LPUA body, because I think that with all of the contact that came from the public and some of the concerns that have been expressed to us, we ourselves may have forgotten the position that we took. The reason that did not happen was the questions of what we need to build, possibly a new plant, the integrated resource plan. There was demand, Simon Mahan and many others, some of which I see here tonight, were demanding more transparency and public input and participation. There was a push to invest in other forms of energy generation, plus more. The rate was raised for this purpose, and it did not happen, but there's been no talk about a readjustment in giving the people their costs back, okay? So that $240 million for me, the fact that we did not do that became very critical and very significant. When the director Huval retired and the budget split, they kind of go hand in hand for me. As I appreciated, the Mayor President Robideau made it clear he wanted to split the position and have a fiber director independently and on its own for the purpose of advancing fiber, which would have caused a reduction in the LUS director's pay, among other things. The timelines of when this should have happened were blurred. And then, of course, the sewer lift station connection issue came out not long after that. That became exposed. So what does this look like, seem like, or feel like? While the Mayor President is talking to companies about managing LUS, the director is retiring, some even say being forced out. The two citizen-owned companies are being split, meaning LUS and LUS Fiber. A group of citizens came here on a number of occasions before this body and others saying that they did not think it was smart for us to invest into a coal power plant. It was not good for us to spend that kind of money. And then the $1.7 million needs to be paid back, and said that the last thing we said was that don't hire a director before January. This was our instructions to him, okay? So all of this is in limbo now. At that point, I think the perception became something just ain't right. So at this point, the question becomes, what are we going to do? In one instance, we said no, that's the 240. In another instance, we said not now, that's the hiring of new personnel. But to nothing I recall, we have said yes. Nothing. The problem is, no means you can't do anything, but without any yeses, nothing can be done. It is for this reason that I bring forth this resolution, to indicate to the mayor president, to instruct him, do your job, which you are to lead this government and represents its best interests, including LUS. And since part of your job is to present budgets, negotiate, recommend, among other things, do it. But the only way, this is what this resolution says, but the only way that we will consider anything, if that is done in a very transparent for all the people to know what's going on, and if potentially it involved more than one service provider or entity, that it be competitive where no one feels they've been left out. Do it in the form of an RFP so that the playing field is level and not tilted towards one. This is, as far as I'm concerned, our instructions to the mayor. If anything is to come forward any time in the future, do it wide open and do it in a competitive way. This is our instructions. To say that we don't want to hear, see, or do anything, it sounds similar to a cartoon that we all familiar with dealing with a particular animal. Hear nothing, see nothing, do nothing. That's what I'm afraid the message is if we don't act. We don't want to hear any recommendations or proposals. We don't want to see any recommendations or proposals. We don't want to do anything with any recommendations or proposals. And the other cartoon says you have no fun. In our case, I don't think we would be doing our job, quite frankly. I have been talking to Simon Mahan, for instance, for a long time. He's not in my district, he's in District 2, but he's been calling me for the last 6 or 7 years. A year ago, give or take, some who are elected or appointed thought they were unreasonable and we did nothing. Meaning the people who was coming to these same meetings, demanding this, demanding that, asking for this, asking for that. We expressed the demand for transparency. We responded, to the demand for transparency by creating something at the LPUA meeting called a director's report. That's what we did. Okay, and that's what leads up to where we are now, because we tidbit things until it gets bad, then we have to talk about it all the way we know it to actually be. Now things come from other sources that look similar to what those same groups of people have been talking about for 2 years. So today this resolution is not an approval of a contract with NextGen. It is not a renegotiation with CLECO. It is not to buy transmission from Entergy. And it is not a partnership with Slimco. Because we've talked to all of those people now. Everybody has come out the woodworks. And now we get a letter today saying NextGen is out, okay? Whatever it is considered request proposal, they pull it. This resolution is an instruction to the mayor president of what we expect if he plans to present something to this body at any time in the future. As far as the date that was tied to it, January 31st of 2019, that was to start to give people a sense of closure, that this would not linger. I have spoken to some of you all about how I view things that linger. There have been things in the past that have lingered on, and they just sit out there, and all of a sudden they knock you upside your head. If we're gonna have something before us, I think we ought to deal with it and put it to sleep. The January 31st date was simply to say that based on what we're now telling you to do, transparency and a request for proposal, you have a timeline to do that for anybody who's interested to bid on it, propose to it, speak to it, or share something with it. For this issue of LUS, which has, in other words, in my opinion, gone on for quite some time. All of LUS, not just the management of your LUS, have an RFP prepared by that date for anyone to look at. I have done interviews, and I use the word conclusion. I said we need a conclusion, not a decision. We need a conclusion, not a decision. Now, that conclusion may be that in 2 weeks he proposed to bring the balance of the 240 million, and then now we have to deal with that just like we dealt with it initially, and we're gonna hear from another group of people who say don't spend that money. That's what we're here for. But something has to be said yes to if we're gonna move forward. Now, I wanna make a few comparisons because I don't think it's fair that this body, the council as a whole, and even the administration for that part, is looked upon in a manner in which this hasn't happened before. The federal courthouse is the perfect example. The federal courthouse, guess what? That was an open, transparent RFP process, right? I think there were 5 people who showed interest. The group, whoever was in charge, selected one. They brought it before this council, and guess what the council said? No. It doesn't guarantee anything. We don't lose any of our powers or authorities as a legislative body. But that process was handled with an RFP. This process, conversations were had before an RFP was created. Now we move to the parking garage. The city has rejected an opportunity to buy it. There have been people who've expressed, you know what the first thing we say? Get with legal and find out. Does it need to go out for bid? What this resolution does, it sends a message to the administration respectfully saying, if you're gonna bring something here that's gonna bring out the masses in concern about what should or should not happen, do it very publicly and let it be competitively. That's what this resolution does. It doesn't do anything else. One of the things about LUS is bigger, it involves more money, and it has a lot more interest, but the process itself remains the same. So with that, and now with the pulling of any perceived knowledge that this was something for a particular company, I think we ought to send that message. I think we ought to send a clear message that in order for something to be considered here for the LPUA, that we need to be able to justify it because the people would have known about it before it was introduced or before it appeared on an agenda. And every other entity within that arena was given a same opportunity to participate as anyone else. Regardless of what anyone says, I'm telling you as the author of this resolution, that's his intent. So I ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Cook, you have the floor.
Thank you. Kenneth Boudreau, I just have a couple of questions. I do think that it's a good idea, what you're doing in terms of the intent. I can get on board with that. I guess my concern is the back door till January. I don't think that the public intent to move forward with this is there. I think that they want to basically close the door on any of these discussions. And so with respect to what you're trying to do in terms of the language of the message we're trying to send, I totally agree with that. I think that process should be in place. But I am concerned about how we're leaving it open to, we're not saying that we're done. We're suggesting what has to be done, but we're still leaving that back door open. And I think the intent of the public at this point, it has been to put a close to it. And so with that, respectfully, I don't think I can support the amendment the resolution as stated at this point. So I'm sorry.
I don't see anyone else. Never mind, I do see someone else. Mr. Pat Lewis, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Boudreau, I sympathize with you are saying. I agree, and Ms. Cook, I agree as well. But I think, like Ms. Cook was saying, that the public is looking at us not only just how and when and if we are going to do something, but what's more important is that when you have a company that's more or less run by the constituents, I think it's around 66 to 70,000 people that are under some kind of scrutiny, saying that LUS is doing something behind closed doors. And it sticks to me that I don't want to be a council member that's saying that, hey, I'm agreeing to something that we had no knowledge of. For instance, I did not have any knowledge of what's going on. And a lot of people out there that's listening in the audience, and also on television, is saying that, hey, we didn't know anything about it. And they're reaching out to us and saying that we didn't know what was going on. So why don't we stop this now? And that doesn't mean that we're going to just stop it completely. We don't know what's going to happen with the split between the city and the parish. So when we find out what's going to happen, then we need to look at it again and see, hey, maybe it's the time for us to start looking at a company, not us, because we're not educated enough to decide who should come here, because I don't have an engineering degree. I don't think anyone on the council has some type of degree, degree to take care of utility companies. We don't know the right questions to ask. So maybe we can form a committee, independent committee, not someone from here, from the board. We should not approve the committee, but look out to the business community and say, hey, y'all find a committee, and so they can ask the right questions to utility companies. Because I don't know what questions to ask. We're concerned about our employees, but it's bigger than the employees, about the stakeholders, the constituents, the people that runs you at LUS, the people that has utilities with LUS. They are the ones that need to know what's going to happen. I believe that if we revisit this after we find out what's going to happen with the split, and then we can move forward. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that, hey, let's just stop it completely. No, I want to stop it and just relax. I know Mr. Boudreau said let's slow the train down, but I think we maybe need to just stop the train for now, temporarily stop it, and then look at it probably in the first quarter of next year and decide what and how we're going to address this. Thank you.
All right, we're good for right now, but we're going to move on to blue cards. Do we have any blue cards?
Yes, we have 5 speakers signed in, first of which is Terry Huval, and he will be followed by Andrew Dion.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and make both mics hot, so feel free to make yourself at home in either one.
Good afternoon, I'm Terry Huval. I'm the former director of LUS, and I had some prepared remarks for the resolution prior to some of the other discussion we had. So I'm going to give you my prepared remarks, and if you have any questions, we can go from there. Point blank, I am asking that we reject any management, lease, or ownership proposal for LUS because none of the options are good ones for Lafayette. This was all a scheme by a large company to try to get money out of the city of Lafayette that would inure to them, and it was never going to be a good thing for the city of Lafayette. Just so you know, I have already received 4 job offers from Bernhard team to hire me to be the director of Next Gen Utilities, with the most recent one having occurred only 13 days ago. Conversations with them were very short. I rejected all of them, wasn't even interested in the details. To make it clear, Terry Huval is not for sale, or not for lease, or not to be part of some kind of management agreement scheme. Bernhard and his political allies, which are broad, have created a storm of empty promises, distortions, and misstatements. Warning, their strategy was to use all of their resources to maximize their profits. So if they could get their consultants to make recommendations that were inflated, they could hire their own contractor within their organization to be able to do the work needed to be done, which would have resulted in higher costs. No low bids, no other kind of things that we see in these meetings on a regular basis. Their watchdog is their dog, complete with a wink and a nod. Look, we've had the lowest rates in the state for years. Never appeared in any of Bernhard's documents. Didn't appear in their study. It didn't appear in their recommendations to you. We've had the best reliability, and they mentioned that one time. The key is that they tried to avoid to state what were the obvious good things that was happening here in Lafayette, to be able to just bring up little tidbits of things that could cause people to have doubts. Lack of integrity, I call that. On the contrary, one of the people at Bernhard that was making the presentations to you guys worked for a utility company that had the highest rates in the state, higher by LUS by 35%. my question to them would have been, how can you say you're going to provide better service at lower prices when you never have done it before? When the companies you have done before, you've worked with before, did not accomplish that? Upon my departure, we looked at the financials for the utility system if we didn't build generating plants. Our plans were that we would not have to have an electric rate increase until 2028. 2028, almost 10 years from now, because we wouldn't be building these generation units and because of the way we had set up our rate structures. Next Gen was good for hype, and you could see what was taking place around here. They were on a spree to serve, that they love Lafayette and building a Fortune 500 company that was only in their wildest dreams. It got people excited because of the, how things change in the oil and gas business here, and maybe having something like that would be great, but they would have to have been successful everywhere to make that happen. They're also known for lawsuits. Check the record. Mr. Bernhardt's terse reaction, just these meetings here, should show that when you're on the sales side, you're having a hard time being able to communicate to people in a kind way what would happen after a 40-year contract. So my recommendation was to send them packing for good reasons. Public utility companies that are owned by private companies are always looking for a way to increase their rates to customers to increase profits. Sure, we have to increase that rates at LUS, but it's because our costs have gone up. It's not so we can increase our profits. And I just beg, I say, stop the anxiety to the citizens and the businesses in this town. My former employees here have been in touch with me, concerned about their jobs and their future. We've seen all sorts of dancing around as to what this is all about. This could have all been avoided had it been done the right way. It wasn't. And I was going to comment about my history of working with another investor-owned utility company and what happened when they got bought up by another company. But the bottom line is the intention was get money as fast as you can by reducing service, by reducing reliability, so that ultimately the customers scream to the Public Service Commission to get something better than what they have. So I appreciate your attention, and if you'll have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Does anyone have any questions? No? Thank you.
Andrew Dion, followed by Carol Ross.
Members of the LPUA and Mayor Robideau, I have previously spoken to you about what a terrible deal the Next Gen proposal would have been for Lafayette. I am convinced the facts showed that. However, I'd like to speak to a larger overriding issue with the whole idea of private management, sale, or lease of LUS. This is about public power. The 2,000 plus entities throughout this country that serve their communities. Public power has a sterling reputation of very competitive rates, great reliability, and excellent customer service delivered by people who know their customers. I don't subscribe to the belief that private business always does a better job than government. In the case of the utilities industry, that is clearly not the case. Public power regularly outperforms investor-owned utilities. I was very proud to have worked for LUS. Let me tell you what I saw of LUS from the inside. LUS has its own corporate culture. Its employees and management see themselves as a company, not merely as people working for the city. They are focused on the bottom line, but not to put profits into the hands of shareholders and investors, but rather to plow those profits back into two things. One, the city that owns them via ILOT, and two, the capital program to ensure that the system remains in tip-top condition. This is a very important distinction, serving the people versus serving investors. We understand the necessary balance between profits, service, and reliability. Let me remind you, who manages the operation of LUS today? Yes, they are all civil servants, but they are more specifically the following. There are dozens of engineers. There are CPAs and MBAs. They're degreed scientists. They're highly skilled tradesmen and craftsmen and women who perform dangerous electrical work and water and wastewater system maintenance. They are your neighbors, and they have a huge stake in the success of our publicly owned utility. And what is the measure of that success? Rates, lowest in the state. Reliability, best in the state. Customer service, excellent. I ask you today to recognize the difference between people who follow a higher calling and people who are essentially venture capitalists. Our utility should not be a vehicle to enrich others outside our community. Excuse me. Where there are opportunities for LUS to partner with other entities, like our joint ownership agreement with CLECO and LIPA, we should consider that, but only to the extent we are a partner, not a takeover target a la NextGen. LPUM members, Mayor Robideau, I ask you to recommit yourself to public power. Recommit yourself to your customer owners. They don't want their utility to be controlled by those who want to suck out profits to benefit their principals and shareholders. We already have a great, well-managed utility system. We don't need to do an RFP for sale, lease, or private management. Support LUS now, and let the staff get back to work without this huge distraction. Thank you.
Carol Ross, followed by Mary Beth Cormier.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this time to be able to address you. My name is Carol Ross. I'm a city resident of District 8, have been involved in this community. Well, I guess I'm giving away my age, but for over 50 years. And for all those years that I've been in Lafayette or involved in the community, the one constant has been the shining jewel in the crown of Lafayette, and that is our utility system. I'm an English major. I love words. Sometimes words can be used to illuminate, and sometimes words can be used to obfuscate. I think this resolution has some very good words in it. I think it just has a few too many. Let me say how I would word this resolution. A resolution of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority establishing that it will not consider any possible sale, lease, third-party management, agreement, partnership, or disposition in whole or in substantial part of the City of Lafayette utility system, period. End it right there. You're talking about possibly opening it up to a transparent request for proposals? Where are we going to get those proposals from? Bernhard? They have proved to us, NextGen has proved to us that they're not exactly the best operators. Number two, CLECO, highest rates in the state when the CFO, Mr. Baudier, was at CLECO, highest rates in the state, and still, and that's according to the Public Service Commission. Entergy, have you read the news lately? Entergy was caught hiring protesters to support their position for a new power plant in East Orleans. They have been fined $5 million by the City Council, a drop in the bucket for Entergy. Most of these companies are now owned by major multinational corporations. We do not need that in the City of Lafayette. We have a government-sponsored enterprise. That's what our utility system is. It's a hybrid, but it's a hybrid in the best possible way. It is responsible to the citizens. They are answerable to the citizens. They give us the lowest rates, the best reliable service. Why would we want to mess with that? So I say, end the sentence right there. Delete the part about without the use of a transparent request for proposals. We don't need any more. What we need right now is good governance by you and by the administration to go out and find the best utility director you can find and continue to run the best utility system in the state of Louisiana. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Mary Beth Carrier, and she will be followed by Andrew Abear.
Thank you.
So I was going to speak from the heart, but a few things got my attention, so I scribbled down a few notes earlier. And thank you, Mr. Boudreaux. I mean, I think that your intentions are great, and Nanette, I have to agree, you know, that it is going on too long. It's already gone on way too long, way too long. From the time Mr. Huval was, took his early exit, that day, if he needed to be replaced for whatever reason, you should have hired a firm. Should have been hired right then and there for a nationwide search to find the best person. Because as Mr. Lewis said, none of you are qualified to do that. So you find the best person. Probably the folks, they're good people. I've spoken to so many of them all over the country, And actually, even in Germany, who, by the way, many towns in Germany were bought out in the same kind of crazy way. And guess what they're all doing? Raising money to get their utility back. That's what they're doing, because they want no part of it. Germany. Do we want to bring that here? No. Anyway, there are good people at American Public Power. They could probably help you ask the right questions. But the best man for the job is sitting in this room. And whatever kind of disagreements people had, whatever, that should have been handled like grown people, and it should have been stopped. So the one thing I do agree with Nanette, January is too long. What's today? November, like right now. This needs to end. You are making all of us crazy. You have promoted, there is now a group of us, there's a strong group of us called Take Back Lafayette. And we're meeting, we're having meetings, there's emails going around, we're serious, we're done with this. This is craziness, this is not our town. We want to be known for bike paths and parklets? No. We want to be known for our culture, our food, our people, our entertainment, the people of who we are. We are good people. What has happened here is not good and does not reflect the good people of this town. It just doesn't. It's not the way anything should happen. It's not the way we expect it to happen. And we certainly didn't expect it to happen through a leak from a somewhat liberal website. But I, as a very conservative person, would be the first to say, I get government out of my business. I'm all for free enterprise. Not now. Not now, because Lafayette Utility System is the one thing in this entire city parish government that worked well. The one thing. What are we thinking? Why is any of this, why am I constantly driving in 5 o'clock traffic down to City Hall? Y'all are tired of seeing me and I'm tired of being here. So, I mean, let's just end it. We could end it, y'all could end it so quick. And I don't really see what the split has to do with it, because it's Lafayette Utility System. Okay, they get a little whatever vote, the council gets a vote, end it. You could end it. It's Lafayette Utility System. Very few people from the parish are affected, and they don't want this either. Like Carol Ross said, highest rates in the state, I don't want it. One gentleman said his bill doubled from August to August after the company was bought out. Entergy, do we want to do business with those kind of people? They sound just as bad as Bernhard. I don't think you could be worse. I don't know why we're inviting this into our city. Why are we inviting so much, just crazy? Why are we spending money on any of this? If we don't have money for the things we need, why are we spending money on all of this nonsense? End it. You know what the one thing we should spend money on? A headhunter. Hire a firm. Get the one person who is going to, regardless of campaign promises of nobody's going to make over X number of dollars, you're going to have to pay that person. Because that person, to be able to run 3 major businesses, has to be smart, has to know what they're doing, has to have it together. When Terry Huval was ready to retire, he probably would have helped you find his replacement. But I mean, I guess bridges have been burned, really for no reason. And it's all answerable to us. We're the ones. We go in the booth. So just remember, it's a whole group of us. Take back Lafayette. We're working. Thanks.
Thank you. Next.
Final speaker, Andrew Hebert.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Hebert, a registered city voter, utility customer of LUS, and owner of LUS. First of all, I want to clarify the $240 million bond resolution. I commend you, because when that resolution was proposed to you, it did not have what the money was for in the resolution for the bonds. That was the question. What you going to spend the money on? As intelligent people you are, you decided not to open up that bank account without knowing where the money is spent. I appreciate that. I'm a little disappointed because I noticed that on a lot of the ordinances for LPUA are also on the City Parish Council agenda. And I was wondering why this resolution wasn't placed also on the City Parish Council agenda. Just as I'm curious as to why Mr. Terrio's agenda, or resolution to cease it was not put on this council's agenda. Which raises the question, which is part of the issues that are being raised about the consolidated government and councils. I think this is part of the distraction to panic the City of Lafayette registered voters to vote for the separation of councils. Because the question now is going to be, does that resolution rule, or does the city parish council resolution rule? I think that's part of the plan ahead on how to distract the city residents into voting on something that is seriously not good for them. In fact, I gave Mr. Lewis a copy, and I hope you pass the copy on to everybody else, on how that amended charter will operate for the city. And it's not good. And what you've done by offering this resolution only to the LPUA board, if you have denied those 5,000 LUS customers that are not represented by you the opportunity to voice their opinion at the city parish council by their elected officials, such as Mr. Terrio, who only represents 5% of the city. So you should offer this resolution at that council too. I don't think this is a good resolution at all. I think you ought to stop the whole process and reevaluate. And the other question I'd like for you to do is ask who are the people that are speaking to you. Are they city registered voters only? Are they people from outside the city who don't have an interest, who have no skin in the game? Should you listen to them? Should you let them come up and speak to you and offer their opinions on something they have no skin in the game for? So if you have someone like that, I would ask you that everybody that comes here, ask them if they have the skin in the game. Because if they don't, then what is their motivation? So I urge you to amend this resolution to reject any and all sales, leases, third-party management agreements. Please offer that amendment to this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do I have any fellow council members like to mention anything before we go to vote? Mayor, anyone? Well, I have a couple of things. As much as I appreciate the resolution, a few words in there give me pause. One being the date, and we've addressed that, so I won't continue to go further on that. But to me, I believe in transparency, 100%. I feel like from the start, from the get-go, there's been distrust from this, whether it was intentional or not, whether there was bad, ill or not. It just started off on the wrong foot, sorry. I think I have hesitation with leaving the words of agreement, partnership, third-party management, sale, lease, and all that, because as a couple of people have said, it's time to put it to bed. Either we're moving forward or we're stopping it 100%. And so for that, I do not want to leave any uncertainty out there for the employees, for the people that have come to us multiple times. So while I support transparency, while I support RFP and RFQ process, I'm going to have to say no at this time. Unless my fellow council members have anything to say, anything to add, we can go ahead for a vote. No? All right, let's go ahead for a vote.
District 4?
Yes.
District 7?
No.
District 8?
No.
District 3?
No.
The motion fails.
All right, moving on to ordinances for final adoption. Cindy, will you please read?
Ordinance 16, 2018 LPUA, an ordinance of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority authorizing the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to sell 6 surplus circuit breakers, which are no longer needed for public purposes, to Worldwide Electric Salvage Incorporated for a total bid price of $7,595 as per the attached list circuit breakers.
I have a motion by Cook and a second by Boudreaux. Do we have any council discussion? Any blue cards? All right, let's go to a vote.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4? Yes. The motion is approved. Ordinance 17, 2018 LPUA, an ordinance of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority authorizing the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to sell 10 surplus transformers which are no longer needed for public purposes to AMS Group LLC for a total bid price of $157,770 as per the attached list transformers.
I have a motion by Cook, second by Lewis. Any council discussion? Any blue cards? All right, let's move for a vote.
District 8?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4? District 7? The motion is approved. Ordinance 18, 2018 LPUA, an ordinance of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority providing for the abandonment of a portion of the right-of-way for Mildred Street and Cherry Street, and the granting of utility easements and cross-access easements for the property of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, located in the 200 block of Mildred Street and the 400 block of Cherry Street.
I have a motion by Cook and a second by Boudreaux. Any council discussion? Any blue cards? Cindy, do you have any blue cards?
I don't think so, no.
She read too fast, V. You gotta be quicker than that.
No blue card.
No blue cards? All right, let's go to a vote.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
The motion is approved.
I have a motion, I have a motion to take the next few items in introductory ordinances into Globo. I have a motion by Boudreaux and second by Cook. I remind everyone that item number 9 has been withdrawn prior to intro for development and planning's request. Cindy, will you please read in Globo?
Ordinance 19, 2018 LPUA, an ordinance of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority declaring the Brown Park Sewer Lift Station upgrade and forced main installation project a public necessity and authorizing the acquisition of the necessary land, servitudes, easements, rights-of-way, and other property rights on an amicable basis or through the use of the expropriation process if necessary. Ordinance 21, 2018 LPUA, an ordinance of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority providing for the abandonment of a 5-foot utility servitude and a sewage treatment plant easement on the property of the Miles Thomas located on lots 1A and 2A of Vermilion Bluff subdivision.
All right, do I have any comments from the public? Any blue cards? All right, and then I'm going to go for a vote and introduce in Globo items 8 through 10.
District 4?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
District 3? The motion is approved.
All right, moving on to director's update. Mr. Stewart, would you have something to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to take just a couple of minutes this afternoon and talk about mutual aid. A few weeks ago, we sent crews to North Carolina, followed up a few weeks later by a trip to Florida. Call it a trip, that's very gracious in the way I say it. It was work. And of course, Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Michael came through, and our crews were there to help. So I wanted to go through a very brief overview. Our participation in American Public Power Association, the mutual aid efforts, and just talk about some things that are part of what we do. What is the mutual aid agreement? It's basically a group of states broken up by FEMA regions where if there is a storm, we have a utility coordinator in each region that will make all the necessary arrangements, call for the work. You can see North Carolina and Florida are in Region 4, we're in Region 6. not too far away, though. And it's just an overall well-coordinated effort to get appropriate help where it needs to be. APPA is 2,000 members strong. Several hundred crews made the trip to both North Carolina and Florida. And what's very important about the mutual aid is the mutual, that if Lafayette is in trouble, we can call on those same 2,000 organizations for help the same way we go to help them. Just a couple of pictures. The word I got from Tallahassee was devastating, but it was a lot of trees. I know trees are sometimes unpopular when we talk about trimming trees, but it does work to the utility benefit when trying to restore power. But ultimately we worked for about 7 or 8 days, long evenings, and helped restore the Tallahassee region. In fact, we got a card in the mail last week from the mayor of Tallahassee thanking LUS for its work. He called it the most devastating storm that Tallahassee has seen. Mayor Gillum, in fact, he's running for governor. The election's tomorrow. So we got a note, nice gesture from the city there for our help. Talk about some of the conditions. I was part of a communication that, when the residents were so impacted, they moved the residents to hotels. First responders, utility workers were moved into wherever they could go. In fact, the Civic Center with cots. And so certainly you're not living in luxury when you go help out, but the goal is to help. Another picture of the crew, I guess that may have been on the final days. Some smiles there, so I'm sure they were happy to have helped and come home. But, you see the group there who went to Tallahassee. We also had a group that stayed back and had to cover for those who helped. And, we have a lot of work to do every day, and so the ones that stayed behind did have to cover, maybe work an extra shift, take some on call, whatever the case may be, but we had a lot of work to do during the week or 8 days they were gone. And so we had members of our staff step up, just like we do when we have storms, whether they're named storms or something we had, on Halloween night, where we had some issues, some outages, and we do, answer the call. A lot of our employees are not always on call, but we're never off call. Utilities are a 24/7 business, and so we're ready to step up at any point in time. And so it's very important to recognize that sometimes. And probably the most important people are the families. These men had to leave home for over a week, middle of the school year, soccer practice, homework, whatever's going on. The family stayed behind and stepped up. Just like, when we have to come in during storms, families are very important, that support system that's in place to help our employees just, not necessarily have to worry about what's at home. They got it taken care of, and we can get to the job done. 2017, we helped out in Lakeland, Florida, and we got this commendation from APPA a couple of months ago, and I wanted to share it. We don't do these things for the recognition and awards like this, but it's certainly nice to be recognized and appreciated for the work that we do. And this is across the country. A lot of utilities are really stepping up in a big way. This is just kind of an intro to a video we want to show. It's 94 seconds, so I won't keep you here too long, but it's something that APPA produces, and I thought it goes very well.
Storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. When disaster strikes, your local first responders, firefighters, police officers, and other emergency personnel work together to help your community recover. And your public power utility has a plan to bring your electricity back if there are widespread outages. It is planned for how to restore power in different situations. Sometimes, your local crews know they need help to turn power back on quickly and safely. And because your utility is part of a national mutual aid network, you can call on other public power utilities for help. They'll send crews to support local efforts. And they know that your utility will return the favor if they are ever hit by a disaster. Sometimes, the support crews can come from faraway states depending on how much damage has been done. The work of your own and other utility crews is critical to getting the lights back on. The network guides your utility on how to line up help quickly. The network tells your utility how to communicate with the right people in state, regional, and federal agencies to get help and provide updates. Local service with national strength. That's the power of mutual aid.
And so with that, nothing else to present. I'll take any questions if there are any.
I don't See any questions? Are any of those gentlemen that were there?
Yeah, we have a couple here. Greg Lobby is our electric operations manager, and I believe we may have a few more back there. I know James is here. I'm seeing shadows. I don't see much, but we had a couple of them are here. But Greg Lobby is our coordinator for all those efforts, and he certainly does a very good job with that.
Okay, well, thank you all, and thank you for those watching. And with that, I say this meeting is adjourned.
And give us like 2 minutes. We need to shut it down and bring it back up for the council meeting.
Oh, yeah, we have
Thank you.
Thank you. You good?
Good. We ready? We got a quorum? Yes, sir.
Wait,
All right.
wait, we gotta take a roll. Jay and Bruce. Markham absent, Markham absent. You're gonna do. Recorded tape. Wait.
We good, V?
Wait, we have to mark them absent.
Okay. Just to let everyone know, this is not the official meeting, this is a joint council LPUA meeting that we're gonna take up business first, and then we'll proceed right into the regular scheduled meeting. All right, at this time, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll ask. To read. Can you please read?
Ordinance 190, 2018, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council and the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority approving the execution of a loan and pledge agreement and a commitment agreement in connection with the issuance of a $250,000 taxable second lien utilities revenue bond of the City of Lafayette, State of Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
Okay, got a motion by Councilman Boudreaux, second by Councilman Terrio. That is the first and a second for the council. At this time, I'll turn it over to the LPUA to get a first and a second.
I'm going to ask for a motion and second from the LPUA. I have a motion by Cook, second by Boudreaux.
Okay. Any council discussion on this matter? From the council? Seeing none. Any blue cards on this matter?
No, we do not have any blue cards.
Okay. Please call the vote.
They'll have to pull the system up, so the voting is, we'll just vote vocally for this meeting.
For this meeting, okay?
Yes.
Go with the council, LPUA vote first.
District 1,
LPUA.
oh, LPUA. District 3, District 4,
Yes.
District 7, District 8. The motion is approved.
Okay, this time call the vote on the council.
District 1,
Yes.
District 3, District 4,
Yes.
District 5, District 7, District 8, District 9. The motion is approved.
That meeting is adjourned. Now we'll call the order to our regular meeting. At this time, we'll ask
we need to shut it
Councilwoman Nanette Cook to lead us in a prayer and Councilman Lewis to lead us in a pledge.
We're gonna have to shut it.
We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and the future and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Nanette Cook. Thank you, Councilman Lewis, for the prayer and the pledge. Hope everyone had a great day. Don't forget, tomorrow is election day. You need to go vote out tomorrow. Make sure everyone is reminded that you please go out and use your right and vote. We'll get the meeting started. We welcome you to the City Parish Council meeting. We, as your representatives in Lafayette Consolidated Government, welcome your involvement and encourage your participation. This meeting is a public hearing. If you wish to address the council on any item on this agenda, please fill out the request form in the foyer. The request to address the council blue card must be filled out, submitted prior to the call of the agenda item, or you will not be given the opportunity to speak. If assistance is needed with submitting the request, staff is available to help you. In the event a speaker has completed their comments prior to the expiration of their allotted 5 minutes, any remaining time thereafter shall be forfeited. If you have materials you wish to submit to the council, please give those to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica Williams, who is seated to my left and in the middle. In an effort to allow everyone an opportunity to be heard, we have a 5-minute rule that will be in effect. Speakers shall refrain from debating personal attacks and from making confrontational or derogatory comments. I am requesting that the first row to my left be used for media only. Lastly, food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and all cell phones, electronic devices shall be silenced from this point moving forward.
I am also requesting that anyone who approaches the council state their name and title for the official record. Meeting procedures are by resolution and not by Robert's Rules of Order. Documents, including the agenda, ordinances, resolutions, and minutes related to this meeting are posted online at LafayetteLA.gov, or you can refer to the web address on the top of the agenda item, the agenda page. The council encourages your involvement and participation by volunteering for boards and commissions. If you're interested in finding out which board suits your interest, call 291-8800 or pick up a pamphlet at the door. Moving right along, the chair announcements. Item 31, Ordinance 200-2018, relative to a conditional use permit, is being pulled from in global list for a separate vote and discussion per the request of Councilmember Pat Lewis. Item 13, Lafayette checkbook program is being deferred until November 20th. That's item 13. Council members Jay Castile and Bruce Conk are unable to attend tonight's meeting. And I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Teresa Albertson, Library Director, which she will celebrate on November the 15th. Happy birthday. I don't have any announcements, so to speak, as a chair, other than reminding everyone that please go out and vote tomorrow. Whether you're for something or you're against something, just go vote. Show up. Moving to council announcements. Any council announcements? I will refer to Mr. Pat, Councilman Lewis on the Boy Scout. You hit your button. All right, you got the floor.
I'd like to recognize a young fella for our Boy Scout troop from Fatima. Can you stand up, please, and come to the mic if you want to say something?
Oh,
No?
got him.
Well, just
Got
say,
him.
all you have to do is just
Oh,
say
yeah.
thank you.
Just
Or you
come
can
tell us
just
hi.
come tell us hi and tell us your rank.
Tell us your name, your rank. What school you go to?
Yeah. And just tell us your name and what school you go to and what is your rank.
Finley McGill. I'm from Fatima, Pack 446. What rank scout am I? I'm a
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm a first class scout.
Yeah, what badge are you working on, like Mr. Boudreaux?
What?
What badge are you working on?
I'm working on second class scout right now.
Oh, good for you. Come on, I'm gonna take a picture with you and give you a pen.
Yeah. You didn't know you signed up for that, huh? Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. You got it. Any other council announcements? All right, seeing none. This time I'm going to turn it over to the Executive Mayor President's report. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mayor President Mr. Robideau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First thing on the Mayor President's report is Laurie to talk about budget to actual.
This is our monthly required budget to actual report for the month that closed for September 2018.
That's it?
That, you know, it's
Just
required to be
say that? I was looking
reflected.
for some numbers. I mean,
It's
come
in your
on now.
package.
Wow, that's real good.
And
Next.
next is Mr. Dubrock, who probably will not be quite as succinct, but to discuss something that's important to all of us, which is an update on the drainage initiative.
That would be really great. Road update too, huh, Mr. Mark?
I'll be as succinct as possible. Good evening. Thank you all for having me. I'm glad to be here for this quarterly report on the maintenance initiative. For the record, I'm Mark Dubrock, Director of Public Works, and with me tonight is Fred Tronhall, who is the Senior Project Manager for us on this particular project, and many others. We prepared, well, that's not it.
They pulled a fast one. That was the agriculture presentation.
I can wing
But it's
that
part
one.
of
Do
drainage.
y'all want me
It's
to
part
do
of
that
drainage.
one? I can wing it if you
I'd like
want.
to see y'all switch the roles, see how that comes out, you know?
I'm sure Stan would appreciate that. Huh?
Yeah. I'm sure you'd be better off dealing with ag than drainage, huh?
There it is. We prepared this presentation for a conference last week, and so I'll try to make it a little bit briefer. We may page through these sort of fast, but if you have any questions before, during, or after the deal, we'll go back to it or provide whatever info you need. I did want to thank Fred for heading up this project. We would not be here today without Fred's efforts along this project line, along with Jessica Cornet and the entire staff of Public Works. When we identified the maintenance initiative last year, there were two elements to it, actually. This was the overall drainage map of Lafayette Parish. It's an intimidating map. There's 900 and something miles of channels throughout the parish. Go ahead. There were two elements to the maintenance issue. One was roadside ditch maintenance. These are the areas that had been neglected for many years and have just not been able to keep up with the forces that we had. We identified, before I was here actually, the staff identified 370 miles of roadside ditches that needed to be worked on. I'm happy to say at this point that we estimate 50% of that work has been completed. Some of it because of the other efforts we've made on the canals, on the channels, which is the other element of the deal. These were the channels that we identified could be addressed, that would be most effective to addressing the needs of Lafayette Parish within reasonable reach of being accomplished. We had 77 channels identified, over 100 miles, and we estimated very crudely $45 million to address that. And so that's when we developed the rededication of the millages. So we took those 77 channels and we rated all of them, and we came up with two primary groups. Group A was the 27 most highly rated in need in Group A, and that is the estimated $10 million of work. And then we put the next 24 channels in Group B, which is another $10 million. We, of course, had the $10 million lump sum to use to address the Group A, and that's what we've proceeded with in this past calendar year since we started in basically late February or March. Go ahead. One of the other elements of what we're doing is we've created a dashboard through Socrata. This dashboard is accessible through the Lafayette Consolidated Government website. We've listed, or we have pages for each of the 27 channels on that, and by starting it, this is the first screen. You can go to every channel project and see the status of it. Go ahead. And this is a typical one. This is one of the completed channels, and you can see the status at the bottom of where you are in the project, the budgeted amount, the actual amount. In this case, we had a project end date because we completed it last month. This is one that's not complete. It's in the bid process, as you can see on the bar at the bottom. We've only spent a little bit of money on some design work, but we will spend a significant amount in construction. So this is the status of the projects in Group A at this time. We've categorized it by their stage. The top four up there are completed projects. These were the low-hanging fruit, the channels that were essentially paved channels that just needed to be cleaned out, but they had never been cleaned out since construction in most cases. And so those were done early this summer. The next 8 or so, I'm sorry, those are 10, are two contracts that have been placed, and these are beginning actually at this point in time. I think one's acting next week, and then the one the following week we'll have the other 5 underway. These have been contracted. We've received bids, selected, and contracted, and they're ready to start. So those two, the first 4 comprised of 4 miles. This bunch of 10 is 22 miles of channel.